Hey, this is Gary with Black Diamond Games. I haven't done a video in a long time, and I thought I would go over the different stages of a small company and the options you have as you move forward. Now, I no longer work at the store. That's one of the changes that I made based on the thinking that came out of a Harvard study of small businesses. Now, the study was small, didn't have a lot of small businesses, but it did uh, show a number of options of what happens when you become successful in a small business, and that's kind of a nice framework to think about when you run a successful small business. So I wanted to go over that. In the future, we can talk about what I did to disengage from my business. I don't work at the store anymore. I haven't for over a year, and I'm not going back. And I will probably begin traveling next year for about 6 months out of the year is my plan. Uh, and I'll be back to take care of things when necessary. I may be back sooner than I think if things go bad. But let's talk about the different stages of a small business. Now, the first stage is very simple. It's existence. Um, you got to start somewhere. So most stores in the game trade exist. They don't make money, or if they do make money, it's over the holidays or a summer season or something. They get by. To buy a job, they have a salary. That's mostly your income is your salary and maybe a bonus at the end of the year. And I was that way for a long time. In fact, I spent the first 5 years or so not having anything other than my salary. That's because I reinvested in the business continually for that period. And then eventually, as my investment matured, I was able to finally start making that middle class income that I write about in my book, and that has led to more opportunity to do other things. So they say about half of small businesses never survive beyond a couple of years. That might be true. It's hard to tell. Those numbers are often a little bit shady. So but most of the game stores that we know about, the owners quit when they run out of seed capital, which is usually 18 months to 2 years. So first stage is existence, and the second stage is it's the prosper stage. It's you finally are getting your return on your investment. Remember that ROI? Remember, most people don't actually ever take that money out until they liquidate. So let's assume you're prosperous and you actually have opportunities, and that's one of the things that happens is the entropy of a store is crushing. And until you're prosperous, you really have a difficult time getting ahead of just things breaking and the need for new equipment and whatever it is that the store demands at any moment. So you're a prosperous store owner now. You are thinking about the future. You are expanding your product lines, and you're probably bursting at the seams at your current store. And maybe you've plateaued with your income. Maybe that's where you're at. Now, a lot of people um, stay right where they're at. About 40% of small business owners, according to the Harvard study, continue to run their store just like that. Um, and that's their plan. They have no other plan than that. And you can do that, and you can add slowly, 5-10% inventory every year. You might see your sales go up. You might see your dividends go up. It might be a nice thing to do, but a lot of people, well, the other 60% need more than that. So let's look at some of those stages, right? Now, um, at every stage, including the prosper stage, there's a chance you fail. And one of the statistical things that's interesting about small business is you have a very high chance in the first few years of failure, and then your failure chance stabilizes, but it remains constant. So you might have a 12% chance of failure every single year from year three, or year four onward until you close your business. There's always risk, and whenever you make changes, and the changes we're going to talk about come with prosperity, that risk is increased. So even the person who just keeps going has a chance that something's going to happen and they're going to fail anyway. So um, The other option is to expand, right? And how do you expand? And that really comes down to geography and your skill set, right? So if you live in um, a small town, a larger store is not going to help you. A second store won't help you in that town. So you're going to have multiple stores in other regions. Um, Now, if you are in a large metro area like I am, you can move to a bigger store, and you can um, take your skill set with you and mine the existing community you have further with a larger inventory and more space. Okay, so that's kind of geography. The other thing is skill set. So skill set is, let's look at the big store first. So when I moved to a big store, the big challenge for me was managing people because I couldn't be there all the time and I needed more people to run the store. So it became a management job, and I had to have management skills. And I'll tell you, I was an IT manager before I owned the store, and I didn't learn enough management skills because professionals show up and do their job and go home, and everything's easy. Where in retail, it's actually pretty difficult to get people just to show up sometimes. So there's managing people. There's also designing processes and procedures to make things run smoother, and you can do that while you're in the store. It's not like if you're running the store and you have to do these things, it's going to be a problem. You can generally tweak things as you go. Now, if you have multiple stores, that means you need to be able to manage people that aren't in front of you and manage processes and procedures that are being implemented and deployed and run daily by those people who are not in front of you. So that's pretty hard. So that's a different set of skills. And you might decide, if you have a choice, that you would much rather work with having a bigger store than having multiple stores. You might decide the opposite. You might just decide you don't want to work in the store. You'd rather manage multiple locations, however you see fit doing that. So it's very risky with this type of expansion. There's one statistic I've seen says 30% of stores that move fail. So um, maybe most of my peers have successfully moved with no problems. I don't really know anyone who's failed with a move, to be honest. But I assume it's possible, and I would guess that it's because they didn't have enough capital for the eventualities of what happens when you move, which can be very expensive. It costs, for me to move, just for a lateral move from one location to another, is about a $50,000 expense, right? And say I was told tomorrow that I had to move for whatever reason, and I didn't have $50,000, I tell you, my chances of failure in this new location are higher. they're, they're not good. My chances are not good. So anyway, if you move, you have a chance of failure. If you don't move and just stay the course, you also have a chance of failure. Um, Third option is you can sell um, or close down. Some people they see the risk involved in continuing to move forward, and it's not for them. It's been hard this far. They've taken a lot of risk already. They don't want to manage more people. They don't like processes and procedures. Let's just sell it. Nowadays, you can actually, if you have strong processes and procedures and good staff, which, I mean, probably not the people that we're talking about, you can actually get good money for selling your store. You get multiples of your net, where in the past or in a poor market, or if you don't have policies and procedures and good people, you're going to get like pennies on the dollar, like 10 cents on the dollar if you're lucky of your investment. So, and also I think once you start deciding that you're done, even if you don't sell, there's a chance you fail because you're done. You've decided. You've lost your motivation. So that's another thing that can happen. Uh, there are some things that don't really apply to us. You could merge with another business. Doesn't really happen. You could go public. It's never happened. Um, my favorite is kind of the last one, which is I call it the Maui beach house, which is the example that was used in the Harvard study. This is called disengagement. And the way this works is um, it's a little bit like keeping your hand on the wheel, except that you don't even want to do that. you find another focus and you make sure your policies and procedures and your people are great. And you, rather than take big risks, you plan an outside project. And in the example from Harvard, one of the owners was building a beach house on Maui. And it takes a lot of time to build a Maui beach house. And it's a distraction to keep you from screwing up your business, really. And that's kind of where I'm at. I don't really need any of the benefits of expansion. I don't really want the risks of expansion. So I'm building a Maui beach house. Now, my Maui beach house is a different animal. It's traveling through Mexico for 6 months out of the year in a travel trailer. So I'm planning that trip, building the truck, building the travel trailer, getting that ready to go. And I'm probably going to be gone about 6 months out of the year, which is my plan to explore every Pueblo Mágicos in Mexico and the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. That's my Maui beach house. That's what I'm going to do. Um, there are a lot of risks in that, let me tell you. And there's a lot of steps that I've taken over the last 5 years to get to the stage where I'm ready to take a trip like that. And I probably still have another 18 months before I even do that. And I can go over that in a future video if you're interested in that. But remember, I'm 17 years in. I'll probably be almost 20 years in before I'm in Mexico. And I'm in my 50s now. So it's a semi-retirement. I still work 30 hours a week. I will continue to work 30 hours a week. That will not stop. And I will also be on call, and anything could blow up at any time and call me back to the store. I could be behind the counter at a moment's notice flying in from Oaxaca or wherever I'm at. It could happen. So that's the various stages of small companies. They all are risky. They all have a chance of failure. Your chance of failure never goes away ever. So you just have to figure out where you're at. If you're not successful, start work towards prosperity, obviously, and then you'll see these stages in front of you, and some of these may never come up. You might just be doing the same level of prosperity for 20 years. It might be fine with you. Anyway, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I like reading the comments, and I will talk to you later. Thanks.